well, I'm here, Mario's here, Armand's here, Casey's here, Robin's on Zoom, Donna's here, Kathy's here, Doug is not coming, Pat's here, Wilson's here, John Kisco is here, Dave, Mike Z, Zach, Dean, Mike McKenna, and Jeff Putnam. Yeah, Wilson.
Oh, Fiona. I will not,
Lost the shit.
Hold on.
I will not be there. I am still waiting for an MRI.
Okay,
Well, that's a very good point. That's a pretty good excuse.
Is that Robin or?
Yeah,
no, that's Fiona.
Fiona Robbins on there.
Robin's on.
Mr. Wilson and Mr. Putnam are here.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't hear you say.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the agenda? So John, second Kathy. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, next. Approval of minutes. October 16th. And as you know, great Donna Mattiello is also the new president of Brooklyn Memorial.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
All right, we're on the minutes, guys.
I just found one typo where Mr. Zerio is Mr. Zero. I don't know.
Oh,
Oh,
Good catch.
I didn't
don't read
think
too
you'd like
much
that.
into that.
I sorry about that. Somewhere.
ooh.
Mr. Zero. So
Mr. Zero, yeah.
Zero to zero.
Sorry, Mike.
No, it's okay. It's not the first time.
Good catch there, Jeff. Kemp is in attendance.
Yes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes with that change? John,
Second.
second Kathy. All in favor? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, Jim.
I have to abstain.
You abstain. There's John Jenny.
Got it.
Okay. Mike, oh, public participation, anybody? Public, okay. Mike Z.
Yes. Hi, everyone. As always, I'll go through the presentation. Happy to answer any questions after we finish up. In anticipation of the game on Thanksgiving, I'll have Zach here just kind of go through some of what the logistics will kind of look like for access around the site.
Right now? Yeah. So you guys are gonna be using the same path that you've used for the two previous football games. At the end of day tomorrow, all fencing that is closing off the road that goes around Area H to the auto shop and the parking lot out back will be removed. All of the fencing today was rearranged so that we are now solely encapsulating the field areas. And there will be no fencing blocking anything but the fields at this point in time, and everything is turned over to you guys. So you're gonna be able to come off of the middle school parking lot, go right up the previously used walk path up there. We've got, all the pavers are complete up top where the main pillars are. Those are there, and I've opened up some additional concrete area around the home bleachers. So you're gonna have a fairly significant area up there to use as congregation of people and such. So pretty much everything on the campus is now open to you guys with the exception of the fields that are still under construction.
When you walk up and you see the pavers, because they have the T, and it's really nice.
Beautiful.
Yeah, really beautiful.
Yeah, the contractor did a good job.
Yeah. It's,
So there's nothing special that you guys need to do for this particular game.
just win.
Water time, yeah.
Well, you never know.
Don't
jinx it. Yeah.
I don't think water tower's that good this year.
Any questions about the game? So it should be the game. Okay, Mike.
Switching gears to the building, obviously a lot has changed in the last 3 weeks. The first delivery of Area H included that gymnasium lobby corridor, gymnasium, obviously, second floor weight room, health classrooms. Those were all available for use on October 24th. High school gym actually had hosted a couple volleyball games before that date. A few days prior to that, I think it was on the 22nd, 23rd. Last delivery of the building, that includes the locker rooms, athletic director's office, trainer's room, and auto shop were available for occupied use on November 10th. Again, this month, we're gonna compare some of the remaining areas at that time and their progression in over a month's time. Starting with the gymnasium lobby corridor, this is where we were at on October 15th. Just kind of bare still at this time, and over time, some of those louder details were installed. As you can see, the Hall of Fame signage was installed on the left side, which is owner provided. I believe you had installed.
Right way signs.
Right way signs installed, nice. Interior ACM metal panels were installed and finished on the right side, and obviously that allowed all the fire alarm and access control devices to be mounted on the face of those panels. So it really ties it all together. Next we have the auto shop, which is a pretty cool transition coming up. At this time, a lot of work still needed to be put into place at this point. Overhead hydronic piping, compressed air lines, insulation, light fixtures, fire alarm, public address conduit, all that had to get completed prior to the ceiling getting painted. Afterwards, the air filtration units had to get installed. Those are the blue ones that are hanging ceiling mounted. Electrical cord reels, compressed air reels, all those had to get installed. Obviously, all the walls had to get painted. All the devices that were mounted on the walls shortly thereafter. And then the floor, you can kind of see it gets that epoxy paint similar to other spaces in vinyl base. Hard to tell, but on the left side, you can see some of the marker boards were installed. We had actually salvaged some various equipment from the previous auto shop from the existing building, and it took up a good part of a 53-foot trailer. So all that equipment had to get staged into place, and then over time it had to get hooked up from various MEPs, compressed air lines, electrical power, special NEMA plugs. FF&E had to move in tables, chairs, and then kind of hard to see, but in the distance you have the one vehicle lift that has arrived and it has been installed. So a lot of good stuff to see occupy this space. Showing a locker room, restroom here at this point in time. Plumbing fixtures were not ongoing at this time, but eventually they were completed. Toilet partitions were completed, bathroom accessories installed and final cleaned. Similar spot here, the unisex locker rooms had already been trending in a good spot. Plumbing fixtures were finished, toilet partition accessories, the lockers were installed, shower curtains and the benches were in place. Team locker rooms here, generally the same conditions. Really all that needed to happen was the hoods needed to be installed at the lockers. Benches were installed, vinyl cleaned. Same thing with the showers, those were largely in good shape. Just needed the shower curtains to be installed, vinyl cleaned as well. Football locker rooms, it looked like a little bit of a mess in this picture here, but lockers were still being put into positions. Hoods were installed, benches, vinyl clean, similar to all the other spaces. Again, not much of a change here in the gymnasium. Again, like 7 days after this photo was taken, there was volleyball games being hosted in here, so really not much of change other than the divider curtain that separates the north and south sides of the gymnasium was installed. Space was final cleaned. Here's a picture. Health classrooms upstairs, largely in good shape, mostly just punch lists needed to happen and final cleaning. You can kind of see in the transition here, furniture was moved in. It's a nice little shot of one of the two health classrooms that are up on the second floor. Weight room, you can actually see the trade in the distance, who was undergoing final cleaning at this point in time. Over election day, Ed had coordinated the move of the room equipment, and that was installed over election day. So it's pretty cool to see the space filled up. At your entrance to the athletic fields, this area has been developing over the last few weeks and months. As you can see, the outer band of pavers is constructed in a running bond pattern. You got the soldier courses on the outside. The landscaper is actually working inside the tee right there. He's installing the same pavers, but in a herringbone pattern, again with soldier courses on the outside. So it's shaping up pretty nicely, as Zach had said. It'll be in great shape for the game on Thursday. It's all done right now. Next up here, we have the development and the access road around Area H. This is going to connect you from your back loading dock area to the middle school parking lot. Final concrete flatwork placements were occurring around the building at this time. As you can see, fine grading, pavement, asphalt paving, line striping, signage have all been completed since. You have another shot here looking from going towards the middle school parking lot area. As you can see, there's obviously a lot of concrete at this time that needed to be installed before we could even lay down some asphalt. So a lot of progress was made in about a month. At your auditorium and gymnasium entrance, as you can see, the metal panels obviously remain incomplete at this time. Fast forward a little bit, all the MAC metal, the ACM panels were finished. Dimensional pin letter signage was installed, the roof copings were complete, and lightning protection activities are nearing completion. Here's some comparisons for the athletic fields, just pointing out the layout of the varsity baseball field, which is the field in the middle with the south multi-purpose field. There's no backstops installed at this point in time. Miles of fence posts and rails to still be run. Also pointing out the footprint of the closest field, which is the varsity softball field. You're obviously seeing a large stockpile of fill in process. If any of you have been in the area lately, you'll know that we've pulled our double wide trailer off-site in an effort to kind of alleviate some of the space constraints that we're dealing with out there. As we reduce our footprint, some of the real estate out there is getting pretty scarce. Moving to the shot of last Wednesday, a lot of the stockpile has been hauled off-site for good, and a pile has been moved into the area where our trailers are. This is going to be used for the remaining concrete sidewalk base, concrete sidewalks throughout the athletic fields, and then some of the parking spaces that were in our construction entrance area. You'll notice that the middle fields have received the filter fabrics, the flat drains, 2 layers of stone. It's all spread out, it's compacted to receive the synthetic turf. Field turf actually mobilized to the job on Friday. Scope out the field, snap some lines, and deliver and stage some of the product that is actively undergoing installation. There's a lot already installed out there as of now. So with the exception of the holiday, they're looking to work 7 days a week with the weather pending, obviously, try to get the field done. So ways we follow through with the monthly drone shots, looking north, south, east, and west. Couple things to talk about in terms of cost. 2 items actually. So through the development of the athletic field design, there was obviously a lot of coordination involved with what has changed in every aspect, and going from grass fields to synthetic turf and fencing changes, sidewalk changes, asphalt changes. An idea that was meant to be brought in was keeping all of the base bid backstops dimensions the same as what they were during the grass field construction. It wasn't discovered in buyout, but the varsity baseball backstops, the one in the middle, was supposed to be 73 feet long, 30-foot tall poles with the hoods cantilevered out. But the drawing that was issued was designed at an 81-foot dimension backstop, which was an increase of 8 feet. So you had 4 feet on each side that you needed to infill. Reviewing it a little bit further, there were a couple different options that we could do, but we eventually landed on procuring 2 more of those 30-foot poles and extending the limits of the backstops to mirror the new field design. Actually will be the same backstop length as your JV baseball field. Downside to that is the poles. The 2 poles had an 8-week lead time at the time we had released it. We're still roughly a couple weeks away from that point on actually receiving the product. Not the end of the world, doesn't kill us, but it does carry a financial aspect or financial impact of $13,000. I actually made a mistake in the report in your Word file narrative, and I carried it at an $18,000 value, but it was submitted and signed at a $13,000 value. So. Last item is, I would say a couple months ago at this point, we encountered a grading issue around the tennis court bleacher area and also at the north end of the south multipurpose field. we have reviewed it a little bit further with SLAM, and we have worked out some of the revised grades and introduced some additional drainage components and nioplast drains, no major structures, just kind of some to help shut off some of the water that we couldn't figure out where to go. Not realizing it at the time, it sort of domino affected itself along the north anchor curb that is shared between the varsity softball field and the south multipurpose field, so right kind of along the tennis court and the north multipurpose field along that anchor curb line. So in the drawings, you have lower profiled anchor curbs and you have higher profiled retaining walls, anchor curbs at the synthetic turfs at the anchor points. All are used in varying different needs, depending on the loads and the grading conditions that are adjacent to it. After the grading changes came out in those two areas I was talking about before, we had realized that a section of the anchor curb went from 18 inches exposed to 34 inches, so it grew a little bit. So we had talked with SLAM a little bit, and then through review with their structural team, they had realized there was a need for a sewer back truck to access part of the area on the varsity baseball field for the sanitary manhole that runs beneath your fields that got lined through another contractor outside the project. Basically, what happens is the design changed from like a lower profile anchor curb to a 6.5 foot tall, 4 foot wide footing, which was intended to be anchored with synthetic turf. So it's obviously a lot of work. It spans 130 something feet, 130 feet, I believe, roughly, close to that.
It's 148.
Okay, a little bit more. Nonetheless, it's a lot of work. We reviewed the cost with our internal estimators just to talk about rates of production, material pricing, making sure those were in line with what the industry has been seeing. So a placeholder I plugged into the report in the amount of $82,000 represents the change of adding the 140 foot, 6.5 foot tall, 4 foot wide wall, and that includes getting a credit back for the lower curb that was carried in the buyout. Additionally, we're obviously entered into the cold season, so we're incurring winter conditions on a time and material basis. Concrete plants around November 1st, they add hot water in, they add accelerators into the concrete mix. You have to cover the concrete with blankets so you ensure proper curing happens. Warming the ground prior to placement, there's tons of standards and procedures to follow when you're placing concrete in winter conditions. So we're tracking those costs as they are incurred, and it will be in addition to the field negotiations once those are resolved. So I know that was a lot, so happy to answer any questions for you.
Just to be clear, the varsity baseball backstop is finished.
Yes.
You're waiting for the poles for the softball backstop.
Good point. So we were short on the varsity baseball, in constructing the varsity baseball field backstops, but we took them from the varsity softball field so we could finish the backstops and get out of the way in the varsity baseball field. So we're waiting on 2 poles that will replenish the stock for the varsity softball field.
So how far out do you think those are?
2.5,
Couple
3
weeks.
weeks now.
Yes.
Ed and Mark, where are we at contingency-wise in the field project? We carry a small contingency for the field installation, and that's $100 and some odd $1,000 in change orders.
No, the 81,000 is already, if you look at what I gave you on this report, it's already encumbered
In the original project or in the
in the
field?
original project.
So we're gonna carry it out of the original.
Correct. All of those items are in the back, about 450,000 of encumbrances, and you still have $774,000 left. John, you're up.
Good evening. Well, as things wind down in the building, you're going to see fewer inspections. Starting with field reports, we're up to field report 134 as of today. We have 15 items that we're tracking, which is down 30 from the 38 items we were tracking this time last month. So a lot of these things have gone away, they've been taken care of. Most of what's on that field report is related to site work that's ongoing. There's a few items in the buildings and they're all duplicated on the punch list. SLAM issued field report 6, they did not note any non-conforming items. CES, the MEP engineer was out there, they issued field reports 22 and 23. There were no non-conforming items issued, but they did request confirmation of some testing of some MEP systems that are no part of the normal process. So those are starting to come in, and those will get closed out as soon as those reports get reviewed and returned. Special inspections, which is an inspection process that supplements the local building inspector's performance of their duties. We're at the point now where the final inspection was issued for the balance of the building. It included interim reports for September and October. The final inspection report came in from the special inspector. Again, it's a prerequisite for the certificate of occupancy, and that was issued. So there were no outstanding issues preventing him from issuing that final statement. For materials testing, there was concrete testing for the concrete that you saw in the photos for site concrete at the heavy-duty concrete that runs between the north and south multi-purpose fields. There were inspections related to the reinforcing in those areas. Nothing out of the ordinary was found. Everything's passed the inspections, and none of the test results came back with any abnormalities. Bituminous concrete, you saw in the photo, or what Mike reported, the asphalt was paved around the outside on the north and east sides of the gymnasium. That was tested, and there were no deficiencies noted. And lastly, startup testing. As buildings areas are getting wrapped up, there were a number of startup tests done. Structured cables, which is for communication, was tested in building parts G and H. That's been submitted for review. Startup tests were done on the heat recovery unit, which is on the roof that serves the locker rooms. That was submitted for review. Startup of chillers 1 and 3 was performed, and that was submitted for review. CES did review it, and they had a number of comments. They've returned it back to the contractor to be addressed. Startup reports for the video surveillance system was done. There were a few comments from the technology consultant that need to be addressed. NFPA 13 of the fire protection system for buildings parts G and H was performed and accepted. There were no deficiencies. And a balancing of phase 2 was submitted and reviewed. There were a series of comments made, so the balancing contractor will have to go back in, balance certain areas to address the comments that were submitted. And lastly, construction waste management, it was fairly quiet. There were 2 months, September and October reports came in where there were 75 tons of waste generated. And for that 2-month period, 65 of that was sent to recycling. The balance was sent to landfill. So there were no non-conforming tests or reports. There are some startup tests and balancing comments to be addressed by the contractor, but otherwise things continue to wind down.
Any questions?
Yeah, on the balancing reports for the HVAC system, I know it's phased and they're still doing it. When it's all done and said, is there a final balance, or do we just keep the pieces?
It's a consolidated, or it's a compiled report that has everything in it, and it won't get accepted until all the values have been corrected. So there will be a balance report, so if you go into room 2105,
Yep.
you'll know that the supply is 600 CFM and the return is 550, whatever the case is. So that'll be a compiled document. So there shouldn't be anything outstanding. Now, when that's done, and ONG can confirm, that goes to IES, the commissioning agent, who's going to go in and validate a lot of those systems.
Okay, the entire building gets kind of looked at again?
Yes.
The whole complex and so on because of that?
I believe that's the protocol here for IES.
I missed the last part, I'm sorry.
The IES is going to validate, once everything is
Yes.
complete and balanced, IES is going to
IES will do
validate
the
it.
final commissioning
As
step,
part of the
all the comments
commissioning.
have been resolved and do all their final verification.
Of the whole complex or just the middle school?
Whole thing.
Whole building.
You have to go through heating cycle and cooling cycles, so it's a long process. It takes a lot of time. You have to flush those things out to make sure it goes through all the paces.
Really, when we're able to get another cool
And
load, so
the
not till March.
warranty doesn't start until that's all completed?
Correct. No HVAC warranties have been accepted until the commissioning agent has signed off on all of the systems.
So probably won't happen until midsummer.
I think we're a little bit closer than that. There's a few different items that John was mentioning that we still gotta kind of wrap up. Starting up another chiller today. We're not gonna be able to put a load on it until March. So, okay, I guess it's probably March.
Thanks, John. Anything else? Next item, payment. As you get the list of looks like everybody wanted payment this month. Also, I break down between, on Fuji, on Liberty has a separate PO, Eagle Fence has a separate PO. They all have separate POs, so we can track the cost of the field. So can I have a motion to pay all the contractors $2,852,051.18.
So moved.
Have a second?
Seconded.
Second, Case. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, Mike,
Yes.
you had a short month last month.
I had to make up for it.
Yeah, making it up.
Start off with PCO 646. It's an owner contingency cost of $42,580. Back in May, I had informed this group of a discrepancy that we had found where the height of the existing CMU exterior walls along the north, south, and west elevations of the renovation building, area H, were not at the heights that we thought they were at. So we had submitted a question to SLAM, and we had proposed a solution to add 6-inch cold form metal framing studs with kickers back to the roof deck to make up the difference where the CMU was supposed to be, along with adding in spray insulation within those stud bays. So the proposed solution was deemed acceptable by SLAM, and the work had proceeded to not encounter any more delays in building the renovation. PCO 651 is an owner cost of $16,911. Again, back in May, I had informed this group of a discrepancy that we had found in the middle school life skills room where there were no plumbing, supply, or waste piping connections that we could find. So we had submitted a question, and in review with SLAM, it was agreed that the connections were required to support the equipment provided in the space. So in this case, it was the washing machine in the life skills room. The room in question was at a point where the finishes had already been installed, so the costs here included are for the general trades contractor to protect the adjacent finishes, saw cut the new concrete slabs, remove the concrete slab, excavate to an appropriate underground piping depth to tie in the sanitary plumbing, and then infill the trench. Costs for the plumbing contractor here are to connect to the local underground sanitary, overhead and in-wall supply and vent piping, and then insulate as required for our inspections.
What was the cost of that, Mike? I missed it.
Say that again?
What was the cost of that?
$16,911.
And the reason why it wasn't in the drawing?
It was not in our plumbing drawing set. So, PCO 653 is an order cost of $15,716. We had received a proposal request back in March for roughly 13 new cameras, or most of them being new and a couple of them being relocated from their original positions. Initial pricing came in around $50,000, so we went back to the drawing board with the owner. We had landed on 4 new cameras. Costing here are for the communication cabling, going back from the local patch panel to the camera connection point, and then a cost for the security contractor to procure the cameras, install them, and then program them into the milestone program that public schools uses.
So that's you reduced the amount, sorry about that, but you reduced the amount?
Yeah.
What was the total amount that everybody was looking for?
Total number of cameras?
Total
Yeah.
number of cameras is about 10 new, and then
10.
3 of them that were relocated, and then we reduced the scope down.
To what? To
about 4 cameras.
And one turned, the one near media center.
I believe it was only 4 new.
Yeah, but one was turned, the one near the cafeteria.
Okay, I couldn't just remember, but. 663 is an owner contingency cost of $12,777. Back in August, I had mentioned that during the renovation of the existing gymnasium, we had encountered a few conflicts regarding the existing slab depression, the thickness of the slab, the existing slab, and then the approved wood flooring system. During substrate moisture testing, it was noticed that the thickness of the existing concrete was only 2 inches thick, which deemed to be not sufficient to support the installation of the gymnasium equipment sleeves for volleyball, badminton, pickleball equipment. And looking at the manufacturer's detail for the sleeve porter, they required a box out, which was an 18-inch by 18-inch by 2 feet in depth box out that we had to fill with concrete, and then recore it again to set the sleeve in. So we basically had to saw cut the existing floor, excavate it, pour back in concrete in order to facilitate the installation of some new gym sleeves to support volleyball, badminton, and pickleball.
How was that?
It was more of just an existing unforeseen condition.
Nobody
Knew the slab was going to be fixed in some spots, so the wood floor contractor and reviewing the literature from our gym equipment guys. PCO 664 is an owner cost of $3,022. Originally, there was access control opening specified at the exterior storage room in area H. It would be the closest exterior storage room next to the auto shop along the east elevation. But in further conversations with the athletic department, Mario and Dean's group, it was decided that we had moved that opening that was supposed to receive access control to the corner locker room door, which is on the north elevation of area H, just for ease of going in and out during football games and things of that nature. But in making that change, we had discovered it a little bit too late that the hollow metal frame was never prepped to receive the electrified hardware. So we worked with SLAM and we had found another option for a surface mounted electric strike, basically allowing the same access control or opening to be access control. So just the hardware cost included in this cost. PCO 665 is an owner cost of $2,683. In the corridor in the first floor locker room areas in the gymnasium, you have 2 separate water fountains. When we were building the structural aspects of area H, some of you have noticed the exposed X-column bracing, we call it, that's exposed in the hallways down there. The placement of that bracing actually conflicted with the placement and the depth needed for the drinking fountains. So we reviewed the issue with SLAM and we decided to shift over the locations of the water fountains to clear that conflict. So the cost here is just to relocate the framing that was already in place to the spot where it would clear the depth conflict and install the water fountains. PCO 666 is an owner cost of $29,330. In previous building committee meetings, we had approved cost to increase the mix design and introduce an integral moisture vapor reduction admixture or salt inhibitor additive into the future concrete placements surrounding the perimeter of the building. And now this one is representing throughout the athletic field complex. During value engineering, we had actually taken this additive out of the job. So we're basically putting it back in via this PCO. Due to the nature of where we're at, geographically, and you encounter freeze thaw cycles, salt protection of surfaces, the integral additive and increasing compressive strength just only adds to the longevity of your exterior concrete, helps protect it a little bit more than it was before. PCO 667 is an owner cost of $1,210. Again, in constructing area H, the masonry contractor had raised a concern about an area where a section of masonry would have been unsupported. Kudos to them for picking it up. None of us even thought about it at that time, but good on them for reporting it. Further review with SLAM and the structural steel detailer introduced a steel seat connection, basically welding another piece of steel onto the column that we had already erected to help carry that area of unsupported masonry. So the work was tracked on time and material through the steel trade funded in that PCO. PCO 668 is an owner cost of $5,656. After the select demolition of Area H, we were left with some various openings in the slab from older mechanical, electrical, plumbing penetrations that we had not picked up on the structural drawings that were supposed to be repaired. We had reviewed the extent of these conditions with SLAM, and some of the openings we were able to dowel into the existing concrete and form up a piece of plywood and infill it with concrete. Others we had to procure and lag new steel angles around the openings and then weld metal decking within those angles to carry that load, so we could infill it with concrete. Cost here for the steel and general trades contractors to address those older penetrations. PCO 671 is an owner cost of $1,861. We were alerted of a discrepancy between the athletic field drawings revision 1 to revision 3. Where a couple months had passed by between the issuance of those drawings, and in the middle of it, we had executed a change for the fencing scope. All the changes related to the athletic fields for just the fencing only, where the varsity baseball sideline pole height had changed from 4 feet to 8 feet. Again, we had already inked the deal at that time for the fencing trade, and we had not picked it up at that time. So in an effort to assist, the contractor didn't include any labor going from the 4 feet to the 8 feet. He's just charging us for the material delta between the 4 foot and the 8 foot. So that was represented in that cost. 672 was a CM contingency cost of $7,375. Part of renovating the old gym, we included mimicking the existing condition of the old furred walls with the sloped roofs that was in the old gymnasium. The roof material on those sloped shed roofs was an MDF board, which at the time buyout, the mill worker had excluded in his bid. We had never reassigned it to anybody else at that time. Mistake on our end. That's why it's a CM drop. But during the summer push, we had decided to assign this to PDC as they were framing and sheathing the walls and drywalling them. So kept it all within their scope. 673 is an owner cost of $2,465. Again, throughout the structural phase of Area H, we had the Miss Mills contractor install the new X-bracing, we call it. And parts of it were left exposed in the areas of the window lights where you can look into the gym. It's not a pass-through light, it's just a piece of glass that you can look from the H1 corridor into the gymnasium. Obviously, there was a hazard of keeping a piece of X-brace exposed, so Slamma decided to add some railings. So we had to add blocking for the railings, and then we had tracked that on a ticket, and then tracked the install of the Miss Mills on the ticket as well. 674 is an owner cost of $800. This is for the carpenter to add some in-wall blocking for the owner provided Hall of Heroes graphic in the gymnasium lobby corridor. 675 is an owner cost of $952. This is for the taper to refinish around the ATM after it was installed. 676 is an owner cost of $2,511. Way back in time, years ago at this point, the bid documents had included drinking fountains within the middle school gymnasiums, the high school gymnasiums. And at some point, a proposal request was generated to relocate those drinking fountains outside of the gymnasiums and into the adjacent corridors. At the time, we hadn't picked up the need to replace the wall finish where the drinking fountains were supposed to go. Would have been smart to pick up an added wall finish at that time, meaning gym wall pads. So that's what the cost for the general trades guy is, $2,443 for 8 wall pads. 677 is a CM cost of $4,241. This is for temporary toilet costs in the month of October. All future toilet costs will be reduced in value as we have reduced the amount of portalets on site, and we went back down to 1 cleaning per month. We're actually taking the general trades contractor who was typically managing these invoices on their end, but we have moved it onto the site work guys package. So he will now be funded for every invoice starting in January. 678 is a CM cost of $11,881. This is for storage costs paid to the general trades contractor who provided the bleachers and the elevators in the Area H wing. Fortunately, these disciplines were lined up on a schedule way back in time. And as the delays unfolded in constructing the renovation building, these products needed to be in storage for a longer period of time, which is representative of all these costs included. 679 is another CM cost of $14,849. At the time of bid, we assigned a certain amount of elevator operator hours for an operator to run the car for all the pit work and the shaft work that is needed from the electricians to complete elevator punch list items, cameras, phone lines, fire alarm devices, lighting. And we ran out of those hours after constructing the first 2 elevators. So we were paying change orders for elevators 3 and 4 for them to run the car to execute all of the punch list work related to finishing the elevator work. 680 is an order cost of $6,003. There were some funky conditions at the clear story windows of the north and south sides of the gymnasium, where you could see some exposed cold form metal framing and insulation that had made up all the parapets on the high roofs of area H. So this cost is for Cherry Hill to introduce some brick metal to conceal those conditions, and the work was actually installed over the weekend. PCO 681 is a credit back to the project in the amount of $102,770. This is for one of 4 CM allowances that we had carried at the beginning of the project, not knowing if there would be a scope at this time for a bi-distributed antenna system, is what they call the BDA system, needed for the fire department. We weren't actually able to survey the building with the fire department until we were enclosed enough to a point where we could check the envelope or could check radio signals and frequencies with the fire department and seeing if there was really a need to put a BDA system in the building to help their radio systems. But after a walkthrough, they had let us know that it was not needed. So we've returned all of those funds back to the project. PCO 682 is another credit back to the project in the amount of $25,694. This is to return one of 2 trade allowances assigned to the demolition in abatement trade. This one was for 1,000 feet of asbestos-containing material, pipe insulation, removal, disposal, beyond the quantities that were established in the contract documents. Again, we didn't need any of it, so we're returning all of it back to the project. PCO 683. Credit back in the amount of $5,140. This is trade allowance 2 of 2 assigned to the demolition and abatement contractor. This one was for 20 glove bag removals for pipe insulation. Again, we didn't use any of it, so we're returning all of it back to the project. PCO 685 is an order cost of $2,434. During the renovation, we were left with an awkward condition at the north side corridor on the second floor, where there was a gap between the edge of slab and the curtain wall. Further review with SLAM had allowed us to weld a bent plate between on top of the existing beam, infilling it with some lightweight concrete, where we can install the rubber flooring right up to the curtain wall, so we could close that gap. It pretty much took a gap that was 1.5 feet wide down to a couple inches. So we had tracked those costs on time and material for the Miss Metals contractor and flooring contractor. PCO 696 is an owner contingency cost of $2,579. We had noticed that the stairwell doors in area H on the second floor were not specified to receive door mags. Were tied to the fire alarm system, so they close or they de-energize when a fire alarm event is occurring. So we had reviewed it with SLAM and said that they were required. The door mags on this project traditionally run on 24 volts, which was an issue because we would have had to run a wire from the middle school first floor IDF room right outside of your middle school cafeteria all the way to the second floor of the area H stairwells, which if you've walked it, it's pretty far. Hundreds of feet of cable through finished ceiling tiles. It just would have been a bear to track. So we ended up having our electrician run 120 volt circuits, emergency circuits, off of the local emergency circuits to each of those stairwells, just to save money on running some wire and having to do the work. And then the fire alarm contractor ended up providing a step down transformer going from 120 to 24 volts, so we could we could install the door mags on the doors. So 2 costs, one for the electrician and then one for the fire alarm contractor. 694 is a CM cost of $2,395. It's been a while since we've seen one of these costs, but this is the last cost we're seeing here for our electrician to wire some of the condensate pumps for the fan coil units and the makeup air unit in the auto shop. Was not assigned at the time of bid, so we've been tracking this work on time and material. 693 is an owner cost of $1,052. In the new auto shop, you have a vehicle exhaust system that is provided by the HVAC contractor that has required a 120 volt circuit and disconnect that was not shown on our drawings. So we had reviewed it with SLAM and their MEP consultant CES, who had issued a sketch for our electrician to perform the work. So we tracked it again on TNM. 692 is a CM cost of $3,539. On the old concession stand bump out roof, there is a mechanical unit that serves fresh air to the spaces throughout area H and part of the area G spaces. There's actually CMU veneer on the face of that wall up on the roof. And there were relieving angles that had conflicted with the duct penetrations going to and from the HRV, the mechanical unit. So the cost here is for the Miss Metals contractor to relocate those relieving angles that were already in place at the time of this discovery with SLAM Structural's input, so we could clear the conflict with the duct penetrations and let those penetrate through the wall assembly. PCO 689, this is a back charge assessed to MJ Daly for Dinto Electric to disconnect and reinstall the electrical with the replacement chiller. Not entirely sure if this was ever conveyed to this group prior, but last November we encountered a problem where MJ Daly and Train had failed to winterize one of the chillers, chiller 2 in this case, and the internal coil of the unit had cracked. So Train had reviewed it and presented MJ Daly with a few options on how to move forward with it. And one of those options was removing the unit off of the roof, bringing it to a controlled environment, repairing the coil, and then bringing it back. Or the other alternative was to provide a new chiller. And the cost between the two was not enough to do one or the other. So we ended up deciding on a new chiller. It was purchased through an insurance claim through MJ Daly. And it was rigged onto the roof in mid-September. So we had to obviously disconnect the old electrical and then reinstall the new electrical on the new chiller. So just a back charge between trades, but little history on chiller 2. PCO 688, owner cost of $1,152. During the renovation of Area H, there were 4 slab infills shown on the architectural drawings, but nothing was indicated on our structural documents. So we reviewed this a little bit further with SLAM Structural, and we had decided to close off the tunnel walls. These infills were actually right above the tunnel. So we were closing off the walls of the tunnel with CMU block, and so that acted as a form to for some structural fill material, and then eventually infill it with concrete. So we had tracked the work on time and material. 687 is a CM contingency cost of $2,334. This is for the general trades contractor to put a piece of plywood in the restrooms where you have your linear light fixtures that were installed along the toilets and the sink walls. The idea was to fur out the light fixture so it doesn't show the imperfections with the tile wall. Architectural issue, but decided it would be best for the finish, so we decided to spend some money there just for a better finished condition. 686 is an owner contingency cost of $12,229. The majority of the volleyball season occurred in the middle school gymnasium, where the equipment compared to the high school gymnasium is a little bit different. If anyone that's familiar, the original setup included the movable stands that are on wheels that you screw down via a hand wheel with a stud on it, a piece of threaded rod basically, and you screw the movable stands into the floor, into the wood floor. Versus a high school where you just stick the volleyball poles into a floor sleeve, it's much simpler. So in an effort to make life easier, and review with Mario for next volleyball system in the middle, or for the next volleyball season in the middle school, you will now have the sleeved equipment, and that's all the costs included in this PCL. So looking to maybe get this work installed in, during the winter break.
I have a question.
Yep.
So the volleyball equipment,
Yep.
that was in the old high school. You're saying the old gym was the lag.
New middle school, new equipment that we provided through the construction project.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen them, they're the volleyball stands that
Yeah.
are on wheels and you can crank the nets on them. So instead, you're gonna have the same setup that you've been using for the other volleyball games.
With the sleeve.
High school gymnasium with the sleeve, much simpler.
But now this, yeah, okay. This sleeve's in the new concrete, so there's plenty of concrete there for the sleeve.
Yep.
What are we doing with the old, new volleyball equipment?
Probably not much.
Maybe it can move to the intermediate school?
There has to be a female to accept the male screw into the floor.
We have equipment at the intermediate school, and we do have, equipment that will fit into the sleeves that we are getting in the middle school. So we have equipment that'll be able to be used, with it. But the equipment that we had is really not, it's very difficult to work with. Even the physical education teachers were having trouble getting it to set up right and be secure in the floor. And we did have an incident of one coming loose during a varsity volleyball practice when the girl followed through and hit the net with her arm. And it caused it wasn't secured completely to the floor, and it popped out and the pole came across the gym floor.
I was just looking for another lease on life for senior staff, that's all.
Probably not much.
Thanks, guys.
Can I have a motion to accept the packet, second? On. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Next, you always get,
Thanks, Rob.
thanks, sorry. You always get the analysis of payments, and we'll listed everybody's payment there, except the new ones. Then the next one is the progress payment. We received, the last one, which is progress payment number 20. We received, $5,500,000. We're up to $120,830,000 from the state. The state is holding $11,540,000 as retainage. So just so you know. Payment of invoices. Payment for SLAM, $8,728.50. Have a motion to approve. Casey, second. Armand. Discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Next one, BL Company. They, remember they weren't paid, they didn't send us bills last month, so we have two bills. Invoice for $20,790. Have a motion to approve that, that's for 2 months. Casey, second. Pat? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Next one is Total Fitness. This is the second half of payment. Remember, they had to take all the fitness equipment out of the middle school cafeteria, hold it until election day. They brought it all back, they put it all in. So this is the final payment of $1,450. Have a motion to approve. Casey. Second. Pat. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Next one is the final payments for Meyer. The first one is $916.30. That was because they were holding all of the athletic equipment there, and then they brought it all back. And Mike is now putting in the one thing, you gotta admit, there's a lot of storage
There's a
there.
lot of storage.
Which is
We're filling
great.
it up quickly,
Yes. a lot of-
as we're taking it out of boxes and getting it on shelves.
Yeah, so there's a number, there's 2 big storage rooms for the high school and 2 big storage rooms for middle school. It's really, I don't wanna hear about storage.
Good.
So, have a motion to pay, William Meyer $5,524.30. Donna and Casey.
Are we done with
We're done with Myers.
that, totally,
What?
totally done?
Totally done. They were excellent, I must admit. They were professional. They just did everything they were supposed to. It was really good. Okay, next one is Tri-State. That's all of their, they do all of their material testing. This month it's $10,094.70. Have a motion to approve. So Casey and Pat, second. All in favor? Aye, opposed? Next one is Interscape. That's for, they had to hold all of their FF&E until the 3rd phase, as I said, was complete. Plus, they've given us a number of free items, file cabinets, bookcases that I gave to the middle school. So they're really happy with the extra free items that they gave us. And Interscape, if they have any other free items, they will contact me and we'll take them because they're, appreciate that. So, a motion to approve $4,995, that was their storage. So, Casey. Second, Pat. All in favor? Aye, opposed? Okay. Next one is Total Communication. As we're doing the project, they needed 2 additional switches in the middle school under FF&E. That bill came to $20,174.70. Have a motion to approve the, is that Casey? Second, Pat. Thanks. Doug is not here, so we're gonna use that. All in favor? Aye. Okay, next is WB Mason, finishing up all their items, which totals $57,795. They're finished. Have a motion to approve that. And Pat. All in favor? Aye, opposed? Okay. Next one is Wanger. They finished all of their stuff. Their items total $87,983.60. Have a motion to approve.
So
Pat,
moved.
oh, Kathy, sorry. And John. All in favor, okay. And next is Robert Lord. They finished all their stuff for $331,428.87. Motion to approve. Kathy and Pat. All in favor? Aye. Next one is Innovative Engineering, they're the commissioning agent for $2,385.50. Have a motion to approve. Casey, second. Armand. All in favor? Aye, opposed? Next one is Insilco. They're finished all their stuff. $77,659.48. Have a motion to approve. So moved. John, Kathy, all in favor? Aye, opposed? The last item is travelers, I want to just go over this with you. This is the last for the builder's risk policy. It ends on January 22nd, 2026. We've asked the building department, and they spoke to Mike Serio. They will not give us a CO until the fields are done. He's incorporating that in the CO. Secondly, the insurance company for the city, Kerma, will not insure the building until we get a CO. So now the problem is, that everybody's gonna get a letter on Monday stating that as of January 22nd, 2026, there will be no insurance on the buildings unless the building department and Kerma work this out. Nobody's ever heard of this before. The fields should not be involved in the building. And Kerma is saying that, you know, the problem with Kerma is they gave us that price of 800,000 for the builder's risk, and we got it for 400,000. Right. So they're not too happy with us anyway. So everybody's gonna get a letter on Monday from me, Gillette, the mayor, Kerma, everybody else. So we'll have to see.
We have general liability insurance.
Right, but no building.
No building.
It's building. And Travelers was very nice to accommodate us. Well, but they said, okay, the building's gonna be done, you know.
So
that-
you can't get an extension on that policy?
No,
Travelers
because the
policy?
building's done. The building will be finished, completed. They gave us an extra till January
So
22nd.
there's a gap between January and whenever we get the CO from the field.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
but when do they consider the building done?
who?
The insurance company? After you get a CO?
Kerma says, once you get a CO, we have temporary CO, the building department won't give us a CO because of the fields.
The travelers,
Yeah, what's Travelers' position in the CO?
Well, Travelers could give us it's not out, we've done our part. Who's gonna pay for,
And pay for it.
yeah,
You can get it, you can get the extension from Travelers, you just have to pay for it.
yeah, well,
We already did.
yeah, well, this is the third extension. This is the builder's risk policy, is finished, the building
Oh,
is
they
done.
won't extend it with.
They wanna,
We won't extend it because the building's done.
even though there's no CO, permanent CO.
Correct, but they've said, it's built, the building's done.
yeah, but without a CO, it's really not done.
Right?
Yeah.
Right,
It
but
would only
I'm
be
just
a
saying,
few months.
we're not,
I think the real issue is that
yeah,
the field and the building should be two different items. I'm pretty sure I've seen language to that effect, that playing fields are not part of a CO building. I haven't had time to look at it, but anyway,
so we have 2 months to get this resolved. So, and Travelers has never heard of that before. So could I have a motion to pay Travelers $50,323? So move that, second, on. All in favor? Aye, opposed? The last thing is as I always give you, project budget summary, outlines all of the costs, breaks down the construction of the turf field and the services on the turf field. And also gives you all of the encumbrances that are due for the next month. And that's it for me. John, comments for the good of the order?
Yes, sir.
Donna?
Good, thank you.
Case?
Also good, thanks.
Mike?
All set.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Thank you.
I've been asked by some people about the open house a week. What's happening with that?
good question.
Good question.
Jan, yeah.
Yep, Dean and I have talked about it, we're gonna loop Ed and Mario in next week, we're meeting, but we have a date planned. and plan to move forward and do it in a nice way where there'll be actual tours and tour guides and things of that nature.
What date is that?
So right now, we're tossing a couple of dates around, so we'll find it up next week with Ed and Maureen.
So it's no longer this coming Saturday.
Oh, no,
It's no longer this coming Saturday.
no,
No. Okay. Anything?
Nothing, happy Thanksgiving everyone.
Yeah.
same to you, Kim, thanks.
Do you have anything?
No.
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Good meeting, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
Happy Thanksgiving.
The same?
Everybody will be
Happy
at
Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you, Rob.
I didn't need that.
Thanks, Rob.
next meeting.
Thanks for your flexibility. Sorry I couldn't be there.
Okay,
Next meeting.
take, December 18th. Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn at 6:05?
So moved.
All in favor? Okay. Everybody
Who
enjoy
seconded? Sorry.
safe
Who seconded that?
Thanksgiving.
Oh, I don't know who seconded it.
John.